Welcome to another episode of Bearish or Bullish, where JC gives us his stance on stocks and sectors. Okay, you guys are fresh off the latest options monthly conference call, and you guys predicted a breakout of United Therapeutics. Still bearish or bullish? Why?
Bullish, very bullish. And listen, predictions are a strong word. Opportunities is how we like to classify them, looking for opportunities where there's a defined amount of risk. And in the off chance that we get it right, we're going to make a hell of a lot more money than if we are to get it wrong, right? Because the risk is so well defined. So $190 on United Therapeutics, UTHR. I mean, I love big bases, right? Call them saucer bottoms, Kardashian bottoms, big base, call it whatever you want. The point is, it's a very frustrating sort of process, and it's really a lot of pent-up demand, which is why you get such explosive resolutions. And I think that that's exactly what's happening here. That's the bet that we've been making. 190 is the level. If we're not above 190, you can't own it. It's that simple. So it's pretty binary as far as I'm concerned. If we're above 190, I like this one long with a target of 260. But Julie, if it's all right with you, you did mention the options conference call, so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the options trade. What do you think?
Go for it. I like it.
Well, listen, so Sean's a very lucky man. He gets our research before anybody else. He's behind the scenes in all our meetings, so he knows exactly what we're looking at. And this one got his attention. So Sean, our chief options strategist, likes the November bull call spread. So the November bull call spread we're going to do is we're going to be long the 200 calls, and then we're going to be short an equal amount of the 230 calls, helping finance that trade. Bull call spread on UTHR.
I like it. Okay, moving on. Energy, bearish or bullish?
Listen, you got to be bullish energy, bigger picture. I'm convinced, I'll let the market prove me wrong. So far, it's done the opposite. The data that coming in continues to prove our thesis correct, that we are in the early stages of a commodity super cycle, and that ain't happening without energy, right? So crude oil at 66. If we're below that, it's going to be messy short term. We continue to be in the camp that we're going to break out. Julie, listen, it's only fair to knock on the door, respectful to knock on the door a few times before you go storming in, right? And that's crude oil at 66. It's knocked on the door 3 times now. I think it eventually breaks through. The problem is, how long is it going to take? Not so much a problem, but the circumstances are, how long is it going to take? That I don't know. Could take a few days, could take a few weeks, could take months or quarters. I don't know. I'm not going to sit around waiting. So we're expecting a breakout. One thing I will point out is check out the XLE. So this is the energy sector. These are the stocks bumping up against those former lows from 2016. If they are able to break out above that, or oil is able to break out above 66, I think they're both indicators for each other. And I think they probably happen around the same time.
Okay, let's take a trip across the pond. Let's talk about Europe for a second. And I want to know how much, if you're going to be bullish on Europe, how much is that correlated to the exposure they have to financials?
I mean, listen, it doesn't hurt. It helps for sure. There's a lot of these European countries that have a ton of exposure. Spain, for example, has twice the exposure to financials than the United States has. So, and it's not just that, it's industrials too. Europe has a lot more exposure to industrials and a lot less exposure to technology is probably the biggest difference. And the exponentially greater exposure to energy, materials, utilities. So vastly different components, which I think gets back to understanding what it is that you're buying or what it is that you're analyzing. What are the stocks that are driving that index or that ETF or the mutual fund? What's in it? It just so happens that Europe, this particular index of VGK, it's 1,300 stocks, roughly, right? Changes it all the time, but roughly 1,300 stocks, very diversified. The biggest stock is Nestle, which is not even 3% of the index. So you're getting a lot of stocks, you're getting a lot of countries, you're getting a lot of UK exposure, which is going to give you more of that natural resource stuff than the United States is. The VGK, what I also like about it, similar to the therapeutic stock, is that the risk is very well defined, because if we're not above 60 on the VGK, you can't own it. You can't own it. It's that simple. So we only want to be long if we're above 60. You got a ton of upside. So the risk versus reward, like the other one, is very, very much skewed in our favor.
Okay, messy markets. Is this a good thing, a bad thing, bearish or bullish?
Listen, it's a messy market if you're not aware that it is. Like if the only thing that's giving you a heads up that we're in a messy market is your P&L, right? It's because you're not aware of what's happening in the market. I think, listen, when you rip through as many charts as we do, it becomes quite obvious how many charts short term are just a hot mess. Hot mess.
Okay, define for me messy though. What do you mean by messy?
Listen, Julie, sometimes stocks go up and they're in uptrends. Sometimes stocks go down and they're in downtrends. And then sometimes stocks are going sideways. And all three of those are perfectly normal parts of market cycles. I mean, that is incredibly normal. Go back forever. You're going to see the same thing. Sometimes they go up for a while. Sometimes they go down for a while. And sometimes it's a hot mess. And depending on what your strategy is, to always implement the same strategy regardless of the environment is foolish. So the first thing that we want to do is identify what type of market environment we're in, and then pick the tools and strategies that will work best in that particular environment, right? That's the better idea, instead of just like forcing your strategy upon the market. Like that doesn't make any sense at all, right? So that's how I look at it. You know, if you got a big lefty coming up to bat, right? What are you going to do? You're going to give him the high heat. He's going to send that thing 400 feet, right? You know, give him that change, low and away, make him chase, right? So depending on the environment, right, that we want to adapt is really the idea. So to answer your question, am I bullish or bearish? The fact that we're in a messy market, so I'm bullish for the people that are able to recognize that, and I am bearish for those who are not.
Well, then go to your room and clean up that messy market. Okay, as the stimulus checks hit the bank accounts, a lot of outlets are calling for the end of meme stock mania. What do you think, bearish or bullish meme stocks?
They're always going to be around. They've been around for hundreds of years, maybe not in the same form that we today call memes, but they've always been around. These cult stocks, these cult followings, the story stocks, the narrative stocks, they've always been around. They will always be around. You know why? Because we will always be around. And us humans need stories. It's perfectly natural. The reason we're here is our ability to tell stories and listen to stories. And more importantly, or worse, believe those stories, right? So that's always going to be the case. They might not be called memes. In the past, they weren't. In the future, they'll be called something else. But it's the same story over and over again.
That's true. Okay, let's take a trip to Augusta. It's golf. Let's talk some golf. It's Masters Week. Who you got?
Dude, you see Bubba Watson's Jordans? Do you see those?
No.
Oh, my God.
Describe for me.
Oh, I'm not like Mr. Golf guy, but the Bubba Watson's Jordan, green and white Jordan golf shoes, those are hot. I like those.
All right, Zinfandel. If it's not red, go home. Is that true? Bearish or bullish?
Listen, if your Zinfandel's white, you're at the wrong place. You know, don't trust people who give you that sort of thing. That's how I look at it. And if you're going to go Zinfandel, listen, it's a Croatian grape. A lot of people don't know that it's Croatian. The Italians like to take credit. The Italians like to take credit for a lot of things. In many cases, they deserve it. In this particular case, they call it Primitivo, which is an Italian wine, which is beautiful. In my opinion, the best Zinfandel, it's all the same thing. Zinfandel, well, there's Croatia, Primitivo. In America, we call it Zinfandel. From Dry Creek Valley, baby. That's the one you want. You know, you get some slutty Zins from Lodi. You can get them real cheap. So if you want those jammy, slutty Zins, that's where you get it. But if you want something a little more meaty, not those fruit bombs, go to Dry Creek Valley. That's where you'll find it. I'm
not going to lie. Don't hold this against me. I love a good fruit bomb. I love jammy, jammy, jammy. I love it. I love it. Real Housewives style.
I'm with you. Listen, depending on what we're eating, listen, I got to tell you, if we're eating ribs,
yeah,
bring the Lodi stuff. Just buy them. You know, you can buy them by the case for nothing. Bring them over.
I love that stuff. Rombauer all day.
It's aggressive.
Don't get me started. I know it's disgusting. 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady is launching an NFT company called Autograph. Bearish or bullish?
Bullish. Whatever Tom Brady does seems to be working. I don't know if you noticed that. So I am a trend follower. So what am I going to do? Bet against Tom Brady? Yeah.
Never.
He's probably going to do great. Good for him.
Never bet against Tom Brady. Death taxes, Tom Brady wins.
Stop.
All right, JC, thank you so much for all this and so much more. Check out allstarcharts.com.
Who's got the best tacos in San Diego?
Who has the best tacos in San Diego?
Yeah.
El Pescador Fish Market in La Jolla on Pearl Street. It is fantastic.
Are you just being biased because you're in La Jolla?
Yes. What do you think? Of course I'm being biased.